In one interview, a public figure openly admitted that she was far from perfect, describing herself as someone still evolving and refusing to let past mistakes define her future. To many viewers, the statement sounded reflective and personal. But critics online quickly contrasted those words with the fact that her name allegedly appeared throughout millions of pages of government documents tied to some of the most disturbing investigations involving elite social circles. The broader discussion surrounding those files has fueled growing public fascination with the hidden relationships connecting celebrities, billionaires, politicians, and powerful insiders. Some commentators describe these environments as deeply disturbing networks where influence, secrecy, and loyalty often matter more than morality. Former insiders and high-profile interview subjects have occasionally spoken about witnessing behavior that left them deeply shaken, describing a culture where power can normalize things most people would find horrifying. That atmosphere is exactly why some internet investigators have turned their attention toward Naomi Campbell. Critics argue that the important question is no longer simply who appeared in documents connected to figures like Jeffrey Epstein or attended famous parties. Instead, they believe the more significant issue is identifying the individuals who allegedly helped connect influential people across entertainment, politics, and finance. According to that perspective, powerful social networks do not survive because of one central figure alone. They depend on trusted intermediaries, people whose reputations provide credibility and access. In Epstein's case, many observers believe Ghislaine Maxwell played exactly that role. Critics argue she acted as a bridge between elite circles, introducing Epstein to wealthy and influential individuals who otherwise may never have associated with him. After Maxwell's conviction and imprisonment, online discussions shifted toward another question. If Epstein's network was truly as extensive as investigators suggested, were there others performing similar social functions behind the scenes? That speculation has led some people to examine Naomi Campbell's long history within elite celebrity circles more closely. Commentators point to her presence at events linked to multiple controversial public figures over the years, including associations with both Epstein-related gatherings and parties connected to Sean Diddy Combs. Critics argue that appearing repeatedly within overlapping social environments naturally raises questions about influence, connections, and proximity to powerful individuals under investigation. Supporters, however, counter that celebrities often attend the same events, parties, and fundraisers without having any involvement in criminal activity. The release of extensive Department of Justice records in early 2026 intensified those conversations. Reports claimed that when journalists reviewed millions of pages of material connected to the Epstein investigation, Naomi Campbell's name reportedly surfaced numerous times rather than appearing as a single isolated reference. For critics online, that repeated presence became another reason to scrutinize her role within elite social circles. Still, it is important to separate speculation from proven facts. Being mentioned in documents or attending events does not automatically imply criminal behavior. Many public figures appear in investigative records simply because of social proximity or professional connections rather than direct wrongdoing. Nevertheless, internet commentators continue arguing that patterns of repeated association deserve closer examination, especially when the same names continue surfacing around multiple controversial figures and scandals. Ultimately, the debate reflects a much larger public distrust toward elite power structures and celebrity culture. Increasingly, people are less interested in isolated incidents and more focused on understanding how influential networks operate behind closed doors, who introduces whom, who grants access, and who quietly helps powerful individuals maintain legitimacy within exclusive circles. According to reports surrounding the released Epstein records, investigators and journalists uncovered nearly 300 separate references connected to Naomi Campbell. Those references allegedly included flight logs, emails, internal communications, and statements from witnesses and victims. Among the material was said to be a specific email from Ghislaine Maxwell that many online commentators believe could significantly reshape public understanding of the relationships within Epstein's circle. But for critics examining these connections, the story extends far beyond Jeffrey Epstein alone. Attention intensified after people noticed Naomi Campbell's visible involvement in Sean Diddy Combs' 2023 birthday celebration. Reports and social media activity suggested she played an active role in organizing and promoting the event publicly. However, after Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit against Diddy, online observers noticed that references and posts related to the party reportedly vanished from Campbell's social media accounts without explanation. For critics, that sudden deletion appeared suspicious. They argue that quietly removing public connections after damaging allegations emerge can sometimes signal awareness of reputational risk rather than genuine shock or surprise. Supporters, however, counter that celebrities often remove controversial content simply to distance themselves from unfolding scandals, not because they were involved in wrongdoing. This debate has fueled broader discussions about what some online commentators describe as the role of a connector within elite social networks. In these theories, a connector is not necessarily the person committing crimes directly. Instead, they are viewed as influential figures whose fame, status, and credibility help powerful individuals gain access to exclusive spaces and trusted social circles. Their presence can make controversial or dangerous people appear respectable, connected, and socially acceptable. Many observers believe Maxwell served exactly that purpose for Epstein. Because of her aristocratic background, elite relationships, and social influence, she allegedly helped introduce Epstein to circles involving wealth, academia, politics, and entertainment. Critics now question whether other influential celebrities may have unintentionally, or knowingly, played similar roles by maintaining public associations that strengthened Epstein's image and legitimacy. Those suspicions intensified because the records reportedly described Naomi Campbell maintaining contact with Epstein years after his legal troubles became public. Reports claim she coordinated visits through his staff, traveled on his private plane multiple times over several years, attended events with him internationally, and communicated directly with his office in later years. Critics argue that these repeated interactions suggest more than casual social overlap, while supporters maintain that association alone does not prove awareness of criminal behavior happening behind the scenes. One of the most disturbing allegations discussed online involves claims from FBI transcripts that Epstein used Naomi Campbell's name while recruiting young girls. According to reports, one alleged victim stated that Epstein promised connections to the modeling industry and referenced Naomi Campbell specifically as someone he knew personally. Critics argue this demonstrates how celebrity names and reputations can be used as tools to create trust and lure vulnerable people into dangerous environments. That detail has become central to many online discussions because it raises difficult questions about responsibility, influence, and proximity. Some critics ask whether a predator could repeatedly use someone's name in recruitment efforts without that person ever becoming aware of it. Others caution against assuming knowledge or complicity without direct evidence showing the celebrity understood how their reputation was being used. More broadly, the situation has sparked conversations about how elite social systems protect powerful individuals. Psychologically, trusted celebrities and respected public figures can make environments appear safe simply through association. When famous names are present, people may lower their guard and assume legitimacy without questioning deeper dynamics operating beneath the surface. For many internet commentators, the larger issue is not limited to one celebrity or one scandal. Instead, they believe the Epstein case exposed a wider culture in which influential people, intentionally or unintentionally, helped normalize dangerous individuals through repeated public association. Whether those relationships reflected ignorance, social opportunism, or something more deliberate remains heavily debated, but the continuing release of documents and testimonies has kept public attention focused on how these elite networks function behind closed doors. As public attention surrounding the Epstein documents intensified, another unexpected name began circulating in online discussions: Oprah Winfrey. For many people, the reaction was immediate and emotional. However, critics examining the released records argue that the real issue is not necessarily direct wrongdoing, but rather how influential media and celebrity networks may have intersected with Epstein's world in subtle and indirect ways. One of the most discussed examples involves Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. According to reported email exchanges included in the files, Ferguson contacted Jeffrey Epstein before appearing on Oprah's television program. In the message, she allegedly informed Epstein that she expected questions regarding her financial troubles and public scrutiny connected to him. More significantly, she reportedly asked him how he wanted her to respond if his name came up during the interview. Critics point to Epstein's alleged response as especially revealing. Reports claim he drafted language defending himself, arguing that the media had unfairly portrayed him and emphasizing that he had already paid his debt to society. This reportedly occurred years after Epstein's conviction and registration as a sex offender, during a period when he was still actively attempting to rebuild his reputation and maintain influential social connections. Importantly, no released document has shown direct communication between Oprah Winfrey and Epstein regarding the interview. Online discussions acknowledge that the connection appears indirect, running through Sarah Ferguson rather than Oprah herself. Still, critics argue the exchange demonstrates something larger about how elite influence operates. According to that perspective, Epstein did not need personal access to every major media figure. Instead, he allegedly relied on trusted intermediaries, people already connected to powerful platforms, to shape how he was publicly perceived. This idea aligns with what many commentators describe as the connector dynamic inside elite circles. The theory suggests that influential public figures, celebrities, and socialites often serve as bridges between worlds: entertainment, politics, finance, philanthropy, and media. Through those relationships, controversial individuals can gain legitimacy simply by appearing alongside respected names. The broader conversation also echoes themes discussed by Dave Chappell in one of his well-known analogies about temptation and power. Chappell compared access, fame, and money to a trap, something attractive that becomes difficult to release once someone benefits from it. Critics online frequently use that analogy when discussing celebrities who continued associating with Epstein or other controversial figures long after public allegations emerged. Much of that scrutiny has again focused on Naomi Campbell. Critics point to repeated interactions spanning many years, arguing that her connections to Epstein's circle appeared ongoing rather than incidental. They cite appearances at parties, luxury trips, yacht events, and later communications that allegedly continued even after Epstein's conviction became public knowledge. More recently, commentators also highlighted her association with events connected to Sean Diddy Combs, claiming the overlap between elite social networks reflects recurring patterns of celebrity proximity around controversial figures. One moment repeatedly referenced online is Naomi Campbell's birthday celebration in 2001 aboard a luxury yacht in Italy. Reports and testimony later connected that event to both Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. According to public testimony from Virginia Giuffre, she attended the gathering at age 17 and later described feeling isolated and uncomfortable among wealthy adult guests and celebrities. Her statements about that evening became part of the broader body of allegations surrounding Epstein's network. For critics, these repeated overlaps between celebrities, socialites, and accused predators reinforce the belief that elite influence systems operate through relationships, introductions, and carefully managed social trust. Others caution that proximity alone should not be treated as proof of criminal involvement, noting that many public figures attended events or interacted socially without knowing the full extent of what was happening behind closed doors. Ultimately, the discussion surrounding Oprah, Naomi Campbell, Epstein, and other powerful figures reflects a wider cultural shift. Increasingly, the public is less focused on isolated scandals and more interested in understanding how elite networks maintain access, credibility, and protection through social influence. The ongoing debate is not only about who attended which event, but about how fame and reputation can sometimes shield dangerous individuals from scrutiny for years. Virginia Giuffre later reflected on one of the most unsettling moments of her teenage years in her memoir, describing how she attended an elite yacht party surrounded by wealthy adults and celebrities while still only a minor. In her account, she recalled making eye contact with Naomi Campbell and feeling invisible in a room full of influential people where, according to her, nobody questioned why such a young girl was present in that environment. Giuffre's memoir was published after her death in 2025, and her writings reignited online conversations about the role celebrities may have played, knowingly or unknowingly, within the social world connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Years later, critics drew comparisons between that 2001 yacht gathering and another highly publicized celebrity event. In 2023, Naomi Campbell was publicly involved in celebrating and promoting a birthday party for Sean Diddy Combs. Photos and posts from the event circulated online until Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit containing allegations of abuse, coercion, and trafficking against Diddy. Shortly afterward, observers noticed that many references to the birthday celebration reportedly disappeared from Campbell's social media accounts. To critics, the rapid deletion of those posts appeared meaningful. They argue that people genuinely shocked by allegations often respond publicly with statements of support, condemnation, or clear distancing. Quietly erasing content, they claim, can look less like surprise and more like damage control. Others caution that removing posts after controversy is common public relations behavior among celebrities and should not automatically be interpreted as evidence of wrongdoing. The larger theory many online commentators discuss revolves around the concept of connectors, influential figures who bridge powerful social circles together. Critics argue that connectors do more than simply attend exclusive events. They help introduce people, establish trust, and create environments where wealthy elites, celebrities, and influential outsiders can interact comfortably. According to this interpretation, fame itself becomes a form of social validation. From that perspective, the theory is not centered around one single celebrity or socialite acting alone. Instead, critics believe networks like Epstein's function through layers of relationships and multiple influential intermediaries. They argue that such systems rely on redundancy. Numerous socially connected individuals capable of introducing wealthy businessmen, celebrities, politicians, and other high-profile figures into overlapping circles without raising suspicion. This is why some internet investigators believe Naomi Campbell may represent only one visible example of a much larger social structure. According to that theory, the most important people in these environments are not necessarily the most publicly notorious individuals, but rather the ones facilitating introductions, managing access, and maintaining social trust between different worlds. At the center of many of these discussions remains Virginia Giuffre, who spent years publicly accusing Epstein and others connected to his network. Giuffre repeatedly spoke about the emotional cost of coming forward, describing the backlash, public scrutiny, and attacks on her credibility she experienced after naming powerful individuals connected to Epstein's world. Her supporters argue that she spent much of her adult life trying to force public attention onto relationships and environments many people preferred not to examine too closely. Critics of Naomi Campbell often contrast Giuffre's long public fight for accountability with Campbell's later public statements expressing support for victims of abuse and exploitation. They point out that Giuffre herself reportedly attended one of Campbell's famous yacht parties as a teenager while surrounded by wealthy adults connected to Epstein's circle. For those critics, that overlap creates uncomfortable questions about what influential figures may have witnessed, ignored, or failed to question within elite social spaces. The debate intensified further after people revisited publicly available records, including flight logs, FBI transcripts, emails, and social media activity tied to both Epstein and more recent controversies surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. Critics argue that the repeated appearance of the same celebrity names around multiple controversial figures suggests a broader pattern rather than isolated coincidence. Others strongly disagree, warning that association and proximity alone are not proof of criminal knowledge or involvement. For many observers, the central question has shifted away from whether celebrities simply knew controversial people. Instead, they are increasingly asking whether certain influential individuals may have functioned as bridges between powerful social networks, intentionally or unintentionally helping connect people, validate reputations, and create trusted environments where dangerous behavior remained hidden. At the same time, it is important to recognize that much of this conversation remains speculative. While many documents, testimonies, and associations are publicly available, broader claims about coordinated networks or intentional facilitation often go beyond what has been legally proven. Nevertheless, the continuing release of records and the growing public appetite for transparency ensure that scrutiny surrounding these elite circles is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. For supporters of victims like Virginia Giuffre, the larger issue is accountability and truth. They believe the full story surrounding Epstein's network, including who enabled access, who maintained silence, and who benefited socially or financially, has not yet been completely uncovered. Whether future document releases will answer those questions remains uncertain, but public interest in the case continues to grow as more people examine the connections between fame, influence, and power behind closed doors.